Picture this. You're in a Navy SEAL training facility. Instructors are screaming inches from recruits' faces, trying to break them. But there's always one guy. One person who stays completely calm. Not flinching. Not reacting. Just steady. What do they know that you don't? And what if I told you their secret isn't about being tougher, but understanding a simple biological fact that most people never learn? Stick around, because by the end of this video, I'm going to give you a simple 3-word phrase that will completely shut down any manipulative conversation and give you back your power. Remember that, a 3-word phrase. In the next 15 minutes, you're going to get 3 things. First, the scientific trick to shut off anger in 90 seconds flat. Second, the mindset shift to turn your biggest enemies into your greatest teachers. And third, that powerful phrase. Let's begin. Here's the secret that'll blow your mind. Emotional control isn't about willpower. It's about neurology. Your body can only sustain peak emotional arousal for 90 seconds. That's it. After that, you're choosing to stay upset. Think about your worst day this week. Someone cut you off, your boss snapped at you, or maybe your spouse said something that just stung. Here's what happened in your body. Stress hormones flooded your system like a fire alarm. But here's the kicker. That biological response? It's done in 90 seconds. Everything after that, that's you hitting the replay button. Over and over and over again. Number 10, the phantom enemy. Why your brain lies to you. Sarah Martinez thought her coworker Jake was out to get her. Every meeting, he'd challenge her ideas. Every presentation, he'd ask those pointed questions. For months, she'd go home angry, venting to her husband about Jake the snake. Then Sarah discovered something that changed everything. See, our brains are designed to protect us from real threats, like saber-toothed tigers. But in 2025, the biggest threats aren't physical. They're perceived. Your brain can't tell the difference between a tiger chasing you and a passive-aggressive email from Karen in accounting. Both trigger the same fight-or-flight response. Here's what Sarah learned. Jake wasn't attacking her ideas, he was doing his job. As the senior analyst, his role was to stress test every proposal. Once Sarah understood this, something magical happened. Those attacks, they became opportunities. She started preparing better, thinking deeper. And guess what? She got promoted. The phantom enemy wasn't Jake. It was her own interpretation. Now I want you to think for a second. Who's the Jake in your life? Seriously, picture their face right now. Got it? Okay, let's keep going. Number 9, the bodyguard emotion. Marcus Williams was a Wall Street trader who had a massive anger problem. Desk throwing, door slamming, career-threatening rage. His therapist asked him one simple question that changed his life. What's underneath the anger? Marcus thought she was crazy. What do you mean underneath? I'm angry. But here's what research shows us. Anger is provoked by situations that feel unfair or block our goals, and can be influenced by our interpretation and appraisal of the situation. Anger is never the primary emotion. It's the bodyguard. For Marcus, the anger was protecting fear. Fear that he wasn't smart enough, fast enough, good enough. Every time someone questioned his trades, his brain interpreted it as, they think you're incompetent. When Marcus started addressing the fear instead of expressing the anger, everything shifted. Instead of exploding when challenged, he'd say, I'm feeling uncertain about this decision. Can you help me see what I might be missing? Vulnerability heals. Anger just builds walls. Number 8, the space between lightning and thunder. Dr. Viktor Frankl survived the Nazi concentration camps and discovered something profound. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. But here's the thing most people miss. That space exists in microseconds. Jennifer Kim, an emergency room nurse, deals with life and death situations daily. Panicked families, critical patients, split-second decisions. She told me, the moment I feel that surge of stress or frustration, I take one deep breath and ask myself, what would the best version of me do right now? That single question, it activates what neuroscientists call your prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain. Your teenager slams their door and yells, I hate you. Your first instinct, march in there and ground them for life. But in that microsecond before you react, you have a choice. The question isn't, how dare they speak to me like that? The real question is, what does my kid need from me right now? Number 7, the witness on the mountain. Imagine you're standing on top of a mountain. watching a storm rage in the valley below. You can see the lightning, hear the thunder, feel the wind, but you're not in the storm. You're observing it. This is what Buddhist monks call witness consciousness, and it's the secret to emotional immunity. Tom Rodriguez, a police officer in Chicago, uses this technique daily. When someone's screaming at me during a traffic stop, I imagine myself stepping back and watching the whole scene like a movie. I can see the person's fear, their frustration, their panic, and I can see my own rising irritation. But I'm not consumed by it. This mental step back, it's not detachment. It's conscious engagement. Your boss gives you harsh feedback in front of the entire team. Your face burns with embarrassment. But instead of spiraling into, "They're trying to humiliate me," you observe, "I'm noticing shame arising. My face is hot. My heart is racing. This is what embarrassment feels like in my body." You're experiencing the emotion without becoming the emotion. Number 6, the personal trainer theory. What if every difficult person in your life was actually a personal trainer for your emotional fitness? Stay with me here. Rachel Thompson hated her micromanaging boss, Linda. Every day, Linda would send 15 emails about projects Rachel could handle with her eyes closed. Rachel was ready to quit. Then Rachel had a breakthrough. What if Linda isn't trying to control me? What if she's terrified of failure and doesn't know how to delegate? Rachel started sending Linda proactive updates before being asked. She'd say, "Linda, here's where we are on the Johnson project. I'll update you again on Friday unless you need something sooner." Linda's micromanaging dropped by 80% in 2 weeks. Every difficult person is teaching you something. The critic? They're building your resilience. The controller? They're teaching you boundaries. The passive-aggressive colleague? They're developing your communication skills. You're not being punished. You're being trained. Number 5, the invisible shield. Dr. Breen Brown says, "Boundaries are not walls. They're gates, with you as the gatekeeper." But here's what most people get wrong about boundaries. They think it's about changing other people. Boundaries are about changing your response. Kevin Park's father was emotionally abusive, constant criticism, never satisfied, always finding fault. For years, Kevin tried to earn his approval. Family dinners were minefields of potential criticism. Then Kevin learned the magic phrase, "I can see you're frustrated, Dad, but I don't engage when voices are raised. I'm going to step away, and we can continue this conversation when things are calmer." Kevin wasn't trying to change his father. He was protecting his own energy. His father could choose to adjust his tone or continue the conversation later. But Kevin was no longer available to be his father's emotional punching bag. Your energy is precious. Guard it like your life depends on it, because it does. Number 4, the strategic retreat. General George Washington lost more battles than he won. But he knew something crucial about warfare. Sometimes retreating is the smartest move you can make. The same principle applies to emotional conflicts. Maria Santos was in a heated argument with her husband about money. Both were exhausted from work, both were stressed, and both were saying things they'd regret later. "Instead of fighting to win," Maria said, "Honey, this conversation is important to both of us, but we're both running on empty right now. Can we table this until tomorrow morning when we can both think clearly?" Her husband was relieved. They had that conversation the next morning over coffee and actually solved the problem instead of just hurting each other. Strategic retreat isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about choosing the right time and place to engage. You're not running away. You're positioning yourself for success. Remember, you can't solve problems from the same emotional state that created them. Number 3, the trigger GPS. Amanda Chen kept exploding at her teenage daughter over the messiest room in America. Every time she walked past that disaster zone, her blood pressure would spike. She'd storm in, yelling about responsibility and respect. Sound familiar? But here's what Amanda discovered when she dug deeper. The messy room reminded her of her own childhood, growing up with an alcoholic mother who couldn't keep the house together. Amanda's triggers weren't about her daughter's mess. They were about her own childhood trauma of feeling unsafe and out of control. Once Amanda understood this, she could separate the past from the present. She started saying, "I notice I'm getting triggered by the mess, and that's about my stuff, not yours. But living together means we need some agreements about shared spaces." Your triggers are your roadmap to healing. They're showing you exactly where the work needs to be done. Number 2, loving from a distance. Here's something that'll free you. You can love someone and not absorb their drama. You can care about someone without carrying their emotional baggage. Jessica Williams had a best friend, Chloe, who was stuck in a toxic relationship cycle. Every week, same drama. Different guy, same story. Jessica would spend hours on the phone, giving advice that was never taken, feeling drained and frustrated. Then Jessica learned about compassionate boundaries. Chloe, I love you and I want to support you. But I notice we keep having the same conversation without any changes. I'm willing to listen for 15 minutes, and then let's do something positive together. Jessica wasn't abandoning her friend. She was preserving her ability to actually be helpful long-term. You can't save someone from drowning by jumping in and drowning with them. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is throw them a life preserver from the shore. Number 1, the story editor. Here's the truth that'll set you free. You're not experiencing reality. You're experiencing your story about reality. David Lee got passed over for a promotion he really wanted. For weeks, he told himself, "They don't value my work. I'm never going to advance here. I should just quit." That story was destroying his motivation and his relationships at work. Then David's mentor asked, "What if there's another story? What if they're preparing you for something bigger? What if this delay is actually protecting you from taking on too much too fast?" David decided to test that story. He asked his boss for feedback and discovered they were considering him for a bigger role that would open up in 6 months. But they wanted him to develop some specific skills first. Same facts, different story, completely different emotional experience. Your internal narrator has enormous power over your life. Fire the critic. Hire an investigative journalist who looks for all possible explanations. The integration protocol. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. Here's how to turn these insights into your new automatic responses. Start with one technique. Just one. Maybe it's the 90-second rule. Next time you feel triggered, set a timer and just wait. Notice what happens. Or try the observer self. When you feel anger rising, say, "I notice anger is present." That's it. Don't try to fix it or change it. Just notice. Every time you choose a different response, you're literally rewiring your brain. Neuroplasticity is real. You can teach an old brain new tricks. Think about the person you most admire for their emotional control. They weren't born different. They just practiced these skills until they became automatic. You have the same capacity. You have the same potential. The only difference, they started practicing. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. Difficult people don't rattle you anymore. Criticism rolls off your back. You're the person others turn to in crisis because you're the calm in their storm. That person isn't a fantasy. That person is your future self, waiting for you to claim them. The question isn't whether you can master your emotions. The question is, how badly do you want your peace back? If this resonated with you, and I mean really hit home, smash that like button right now. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And drop a comment telling me, what's your biggest emotional trigger? Let's build a community of people who refuse to let others control their peace. Your emotional freedom starts now.